All right, everybody, making sure I have all of our technical things set up as best I can. Welcome back to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels, because I heard him say, "Where are the older women to teach the young?" So each week, Lucy and I come here, we review Kevin's content, we give you our perspective as two older women with marriage and long term relationship experience. And so we are going to be reacting to the most recent montage that was put together and put out last Friday called Summer Fireworks. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You all may know me from my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content. And Lucy and gosh, we do so much together. Lucy, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Lucy. Hi, Messy Michon. I saw your live today. It was on fire. So I have a channel. Yes, she is hilarious. Um, I have a channel. Most of my content is Spanish focused, but this year I changed the content to focus more on femininity, elegance, and topics that impact women over a certain age. As you know, I just turned 58 on the 7th of July. And yeah, I feel good for 58, almost 60. So us older women, we took Kevin's request for us to share some of the knowledge that we have throughout all these decades to maybe put a little drop in the bucket of just helping out our communities and society, modern society now.
Absolutely. And so happy belated birthday once again, Lucy. I hope you celebrated it with friends and family and food. If you all didn't wish Lucy a happy birthday, it's not too late. I love birthdays and celebrations. And so, like Lucy said, she's almost 60. I will be 50 next year. So we have life experience and hopefully the wisdom that comes along with that. And that's what we impart to you all. So we will share our take. We'd love to hear what you all think about this episode. Who do we have in the chat? Missy Michon says she's already referring people over because the ladies are a mess and they need us both. Well, we will do our part. Loose Goose says, happy birthday, Miss Lucy. All right, you all. So, even though Kevin is no longer with us, his message lives on, and that's what we like to promote here. So, I've got my clips. Every month, the Kevin Samuels estate takes some of his best moments and puts out new content. So, this one was called Summer Fireworks. And as always, I link the actual episode in the description. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. And there were several women who called in. I believe this was a little bit of a disagreement day. And I'm going to be honest with you all. This one, thank you. This one was a little bit hard for me to listen to because I don't know if I'm starting to become tired or maybe I'm noticing the thread, but the argumentativeness and the stubbornness of modern women who don't have their own house in order. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. We all make mistakes. And that's what we talk about here, what we've done right and what we've done wrong. But you'll notice a theme with these women who called in. So Kevin in his um, montage, his monologue said, unfortunately, modern women have horrible relationship skills. Oh, Mercy Michon already coming in at the $10 super sticker. Thank you so much for that. I'll get you in the banner, but we are so grateful. Thank you. And Messy Michon is a content creator, you all. She tells it like it TI is. Please go over there when you need a laugh and when you need some just straight talk. I love it. My guilty pleasure. Okay, so he was talking about how modern women have horrible relationship skills. And one of the reasons why is if you all know, Kevin was the king of acronyms, and he talked about this need to be right. So the sign language, SIGN, shame, insults, guilt. And that last one, the need to be right, is almost I think it's becoming debilitating for a lot of modern women because they will argue you down to make a point and then still go home alone. And that's what he was trying to say. But what are you doing? What are your relationship successes? So we'll get into the details. But Lucy, what was your overall impression of this episode?
I agree. The responses get so repetitive that it's hard to relate to a mindset that is not willing to change, that is not willing to take a step back and say, you know what? Maybe I'm the common denominator. Maybe I'm the guilty party. Maybe this is why my life is going this way because I need to do something to change on my end for for the world to open up in a different way than how it's closing on to me because of this closed minded that I have because I need to be right.
Absolutely. Okay, so the first woman who called in, oh my goodness, how do we even summarize her? Aesthetically beautiful. She calls in to basically tell him that he's wrong because her mother was married and then not married and then had a child after wedlock and then ended up getting remarried and all of this unnecessary detail to basically say, you know what, you were wrong because you said baby mamas, can't get husbands and my mom did it. And he was just like, ma'am, so what is your point? Would you still tell modern women? He said, okay, fine. If that's the case, why don't you go out there and have a bunch of babies and then see what kind of husband you can get? She was like, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying. Then he said, why would you come on here to tell other women you can do that? It's like my man says, sure, you can go play in traffic and not get hit by a car and then tell other people, yeah, it's safe out in the streets. It's just not smart, ladies. And what happens when you argue down these little technicalities? Because men are long term thinkers, because men think strategically, because men think 3 and 4 and 5 steps ahead. When you're so focused on that one point and that one time at band camp that you were right, you don't look like the type of woman who's going to be a good choice for the long term. Because, like I tell the women that I consult, men don't look at our behavior right now and make decisions. They look at our behavior and, okay, this is what I'm going to have to live with for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So if she is so fixated on this one little point, she's going to have to argue me down. It's going to be a nightmare to live with her. So a lot of you women who have that got to get that, got to wrestle you to the ground. You find yourselves alone because nobody wants to live with that day in and day out. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. And he also pointed out that for her to be 24 years old, to bring up somebody else's life story, it wasn't for her to bring it up. It makes no sense. You bring up your own experiences, your own what you've lived. So putting your mother as an example of things that went right, yeah, that's kind of like a, something easy to say, yeah, my mom did it. But he was calling on the generality. So, okay, your mom was the exception to the rule. The exception, it's, it doesn't have, it's not going to happen to everyone. You said that she was absolutely beautiful. Not every woman out there is absolutely beautiful. It was a different circumstance, and he found it really odd for her to bring up somebody else's story.
Yes, so that is the general. And then I want to come back to her for the specifics because he started talking about her specific life experience. But I always like to give you ladies some tangible things. Once you become a woman of a certain age, and I'm going to say mid 20s, Lucy and I were both married in our early to mid 20s. You have dated, you have had hopefully your own relationship experiences to draw from, your own outcomes, your own good or maybe unfortunately even bad experiences where you got feedback and hopefully learned and got better. So talking about everything else except for the elephant in the room makes you look like someone who doesn't really take accountability, and it's like la 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 la, nothing to see here, and that's not very mature and that's not attractive. So he started asking her, okay, great. So your mom was able to do this. He said, being an unwed mother is still dumb. Don't tell people to do that, because if I told you to go out there and do that, you wouldn't do that. So we're not going to have that conversation. Let's talk about your life. And if you listen to this part of the episode, she says, oh, yeah, I have a boyfriend. We live together. Boyfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend. And then you know how Kevin strategically starts peeling back that onion and asking questions. So you've been together a while. Y'all are living together. Why aren't you married? Oh, he wants to marry me. Okay, do you want to marry him? Absolutely, I want to marry him. So what's the holdup? Y'all know how he is, right? He just gets right to the core of it. Turns out, according to her boyfriend was actually a fiance because he proposed, she accepted, and she had a ring that she was not wearing. It was in a dresser drawer somewhere that she had to go get and put it on in a hurry and say, oh, yeah, he just proposed last week and it's so new, I forgot about it. Kevin called her on her stuff, and he was like, every woman, and ladies, tell the truth, if I am so fortunate to remarry, y'all are gonna be sick of me. I'm just gonna, every stream is gonna be like this. I remember, I've only been married once, but I remember those of us who value relationships, it is something we look forward to, and I think it's a good thing. So for her to be engaged for a week, and oh, she had all these excuses for, well, it's the pandemic time, we can't go anywhere, I guess I should plan a wedding. And Kevin was like, you don't want to marry him. And what he said is, because she is physically beautiful, he said, you have what we call pretty rich. Your beauty is like currency to you. And so women like you are always looking for the next best thing. You're kind of dangling this guy, maybe letting him think, okay, there's a chance for him, but you're constantly, scoping out to see if you can land something better. And oftentimes those beautiful women, unfortunately for them, end up alone because they never just seal the deal, find someone and make their own life. What was your take on her, Lucy?
Yes, the point where he said, he asked you, he proposed to you, and you still calling him out, calling him a boyfriend. Any woman that gets engaged, the second that you get that ring on, you want to call your future husband your fiance, and you're always, showing. You make any excuse to show your ring. So again, I don't know if she was fibbing just to save face, because I'm telling you, no, in general, a woman that has just become engaged, you're not going to have that ring in a drawer somewhere, like Thanos hiding all the keystone rings or whatever. So again, she either was fibbing a little bit, and she didn't want to, and she needed to be right, instead of saying, you know what, you got me. And that's the point. When a normal person, when you get caught, you say, yep, you got me. I don't know what to say. But she continued to dig that hole to make herself look more either deceitful. If she's engaged, imagine her fiance listening to that, for her not wanting to wear her ring. So what are you trying to do? You're online, not wearing your ring. Where is this going? So again, it's that kind of um, weird behavior that is just, it's not part of the regular woman, or a young woman that gotten engaged, to act that way. So there are some things that Kevin called her on it, and she wouldn't say whether it was true or not. She kept coming up with these excuses, and it was really weird. It was just cringy.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And so, ladies, Kevin called her out on it. He told her, you and your fiance, if it's true, need to get premarital counseling, which she was shocked to hear. But he also spoke to the fiance. If he's out there, he was like, look at how she behaves and act accordingly. Ladies, men are watching, the world is watching, and other men watch how you treat your current, your formers. So if you will shame them, put them on blast, put your business out there, they're going to connect the dots and say, yeah, she's not someone who can be trusted. So be very careful about that. Okay, so that was the first caller. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. We got Kenya here. Yes, Lucy had a birthday last week. Good evening, Samuel. Thank you for being here. All right. So the next one who called in, um, I can't remember what she was calling about. I think when she called, it was some type of, he called it the deep state conspiracy. You know, Kevin is so funny, but she was basically talking about how she was in a relationship, but her and her boyfriend, I don't think they were engaged yet, were not moving forward because in her mind, you know, we needed to get things financially in order. I need to make almost as much money, excuse me, as he does. And, you know, we need to plan. And Kevin asked her, he was like, what is this we? If your soon to be husband can take care of himself and can provide for you, I think she said he made about 80,000. He said there's nothing wrong with just going to get, you know, excuse me, a starter ring and going on and starting you all's life together. He actually held her to task. He said, you sound like the man. You're trying to control. And he said, this is what's wrong with a lot of modern women. You know, we have our education, we have our accomplishments, and so we think we're going to run the relationship. And I love that he told her, he was like, look, you work in retail. We need to stop. We need to humble ourselves and stop thinking that we know everything, especially when it comes to relationships. Ladies, men take a long time to get there because they have to vet, because they have a lot to lose, they have a lot on the line. But once a man is ready, I would say if he is husband material to you, you need to get on down the path and figure it out because you don't get too many chances at a real relationship. What do you think about that one, Lucy?
Believe it or not, I circled the part over here that says, why do you ladies always seek to go this huge global deep state conspiracy versus going to your own lived experience? Um, he goes, because you have no lived experience. So again, this is another one of those ladies that are looking at everybody else's experience rather than saying, this is what I'm going through, this is what's happening with me, and this is how we are, how I'm handling it. So again, to me, that for me, it appears that this person is blaming everybody else and looking at all of external factors instead of saying, you know what, maybe it's me. Maybe it has to do with what I'm doing that this, relationship hasn't passed the 2 years of being together. I don't even know. I'm not really sure if he's even asked her to marry her yet.
No, and I was looking at my notes here. So let me see some takeaways and some tangible advice. A few quotes that Kevin told her. He said that it's really difficult to talk to you. And that was kind of hard to hear. But ladies, you all know how I feel about the soft skills and how it's become a lost art. But we really have to consider how people receive us and the feedback that we're getting. I'm sure this isn't the first time that she's heard this. When Lucy and I started the finishing school, one of the first things that one of our founding fathers, Brandon Algett, told me is that, Maggie, you got to help these women with conversation. It's so difficult to communicate with modern women today. So one thing you can do, ladies, keep in mind, men are very data driven and they talk about the facts, what's happening in the real world right now, and how that will extrapolate into the future. If you find yourself having these theoretical conversations about somebody's experience or something you saw on the internet or something you read or it happened one time maybe to somebody, you don't look like someone who should be taken seriously. And like Lucy said, he told this woman, he said, you're talking about all these conspiracy theories because you don't have experience of your own. And I would argue, ladies, it's an excuse and it's a crutch because it's like if someone tells you, ooh, the boogeyman is outside, then you're just going to say, okay, I'm going to stay home. It is, it's like an escape for you to talk about all the bad things that happened out there in the world. So nobody shines a light on what you're doing or not doing. So if you are a woman of a particular age and you don't have personal experiences, life experiences, relationship experiences to draw from, people are going to start looking at you a little bit strange. So don't think, ladies, all that education, or as we say in the South, all that book learning is going to help you in real relationships with people when you cannot relate. When they're talking about something and you're like, man, I haven't been on a date in 3, 4, 7 years. Like, what have you been doing? It's not impressive to a man if ultimately you want to be in relationship with a man. So let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Samuel the Infamous says, I've always thought the phrase lived experience was redundant and silly. What other kind of experience are they implying? Um, so you all know what we mean. No, of course. But Kevin used to say all the time, life is about people. And if you are someone who wants a relationship, if you're in these spaces, hopefully that means relationship is important to you. And getting out into the real world and having those experiences should be what you speak from. Because, like he said, you only need one. You only need one. Let's see if there's anything else, and then we'll move on to. Oh, the next one was difficult for me. It was Ice Cube. Ice Cube. This was another montage. So Ice Cube, the rapper, who is an amazing businessman and has transformed himself in his career. I don't really get too much into politics, but a few years ago, I believe he drafted something called the Contract for Black America. Forgive me if I'm getting the name wrong. And you all know the show on, is it Queens of Soul or something? I don't know. But a lot of older women had him on their show to basically explain himself. And regardless how you vote and what you think about who supports who, that's not the point. There were several takeaways from this interaction, and I think it's very insightful if you watch this part of it. So you have these four older women with a man who there was a problem, and so nobody seemed to be fixing it to his satisfaction. So he did what men do, and he took that step and that leap of faith and said, I'm going to come up with a solution. And one of the first things that happened, or we saw in the clip, is these women, they're just kind of sitting there looking at this grown man who tried something. Maybe it's the answer, maybe it's not, but he at least tried something. And the scowls of disapproval on their faces, like, you got to prove yourself to me. It was so disrespectful. And Kevin called that out. He said, you can't even smile at this man. I think some of them knew him behind the scenes. You can't even smile and be welcoming to this man who's coming to your platform. That one really, really took me back. What was your impression, Lucy?
It was really disappointing because even when they were giving him, those scowling faces, he was trying to explain what the motive was, and they weren't even giving him the time to explain it just because he was going against the sisterhood because he went to both sides of the aisle on the political side because he wants to fix it. He said, all I want to know is who can help me get this stuff out. And unfortunately for him, these women were not respecting anything he had to say because he was on the wrong side of the political spectrum. And it's so sad because again, I remember when I was younger, um, the political stuff was kind of something that it was private. You used to be private about how you voted and how you did things because it's nobody's business. But now, because you want attention, you want to make the world your political side, you want to make it your business to everybody. I do on my IG because I have on my Instagram. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I want to show some of the things that happens on one side instead of the other. But just give the man the respect that he deserves. It's not that he hasn't proved himself being a successful hip hop, entrepreneur. He has shown that he can do it. And for you for women to just give him, uh, not give him the respect that he deserves. It was just disheartening.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch. If you all don't have time to watch the entire episode, I would encourage you to watch that, because just the visual of these four women and then the way they were talking to him, why not thank him for taking time out of his busy day? He's an actor, he's a producer, he's all these things. You all know Ice Cube. Thank him, be welcoming to him. And the other thing that Kevin called the women out on is they couldn't even be bothered to read the actual details of this plan that he had put together. Whether you agree with someone or not, show respect by at least having an informed conversation. Kevin said that in this part of the episode. He said, for men, it's always going to be facts over feelings. But if you watch this interaction, they bring him on. They're looking at him like, yeah, I heard you were talking to that guy over there. Why are you doing that? So he's explaining, I was shopping my idea on both sides. This is just where it happened. But they were not listening, like Kevin used to say, with good intent or with positive intent. They were listening with an ear to pick out that one thing, gotcha, and then pounce. Ladies, you've got to stop doing that. You've got to stop having to get your lick in, or you've got to stop, being the one that's like, yeah, I got somebody told. What is that doing for you at the end of the day? The other thing he said is, if you're going to debate someone or say, I disagree with this, you need to know what you're talking about. They brought him on there and they said, explain, I watched some clips of you talking to someone else over here. Why don't you explain to us, this plan that you put together? Which again is very disrespectful. He's put together a proposal. You don't have to agree with it, but I think having a conversation out of emotions, and we know women, ladies, we're emotional creatures, and that's fine. But when talking with men, especially masculine men, you have to understand it's a very different conversation. And if you want to be taken seriously, you need to know how they think and how they communicate. Excuse me. The other thing that Kevin said is that, well, we talked about being having that conversation in good faith, and I love this quote. It might have been in the next one. We'll move on to it, but he said that women are the one that are coming into men's spaces. We're here talking about the late great Kevin Samuels. We were all in his chat, maybe out front, like ain't that right, Luke Casely, or ninja watching like I was from the Patreon. But if ultimately you want relationship, and of course love relationship, but even a good working relationship with people, the way we treat them, the way we treat the men, and the way we show respect speaks volumes, because he said the end consumer of a woman is a man. And I love that. So ladies, try to get yourself up out of your emotions in the moment, especially if you get fire hot, and think, how is this going to help me? If your ultimate goal is to be thought of well, to be spoken of highly, to have people show you respect and recommend you and maybe even introduce you to someone, even if you can find fault or find a flaw, that is not the thing that you want to focus on. It actually makes you look um, like a nitpicker and somebody that's not relationship worthy. So be wary of having to win that point just to say, I told you so. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. And part of that feminine essence that we have is to find the positive to things, find the silver lining on things. As those four women, they're beautiful women, but you couldn't see the beauty because of that scowl and that behavior that they had. And instead of saying, you know what, that's a good point, or I read on this one item that you had on that issue that he was presenting. Can you explain a little more? Just because you don't agree doesn't mean that you're not going to be show curiosity, respectful curiosity, and with a smile. Come on, show him the respect. Again, part of that feminine essence that we have is just to try to find the positive side on things. And believe it or not, your whole life outlook changes once you start looking at things in a different, on that positive silver lining view.
Absolutely. So let me give you all a couple tangible things and then we'll go back to Kevin Samuel's content. What Lucy just said about part of our femininity is being that light, that brightness. Men should be inspired by us, right? Kevin used to say that feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. And part of that beauty is that joy and wonder and positive outlook that we bring to situations. Life for a man is hard. My hats off are to the men. They go out in the world and, they problem solve, they slay dragons, they do all of that. So when they get around women, especially their woman, they want to have that spark to go fight another day, to go live another day, to go try harder. So a couple of the things that I've told some of the women that I consult, one of them was making a mistake. She was being vetted by a man who had a very demanding job, and she worked as well. And so when he would, um, you know, spend evenings or time or whatever with her, and he would just kind of talk about the stress of his day, instead of being that light for him, she wanted to match his energy and say, yeah, well, let me tell you about my hard day too, and my stress in the office, and yeah, I got a story for you. Ladies, we are not men, and that's not what they want from us. If a man is unloading, then a better response would be to, one, listen and to study him, especially if you're interested in him. How can I make, the evening better? Can I get you a coffee? Or, maybe you're just a listening ear. Maybe he just wants to get it up and out and, okay, fine, on to better things. Or, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. I was out today and I saw this plant. I'm making it up. And I just, thought I'd pick this up. I know this is your favorite flavor of ice cream, whatever it is. But trying to compete with men, especially as men, you're going to lose every time. The other thing I would say, like Lucy said, when it comes to, if you do need to, respectfully disagree or point out something, I think we mentioned this in the finishing school, the compliment sandwich, where it's basically say something positive, and then if you need to ask a question or disagree, and then reinforce it with something positive. So in the case of the ice cube example, it could be, Cube, I don't know what his proper name is, forgive me. I just think that this is amazing that you saw that there was a problem and a gap and nobody else was, working on it. So you took it upon yourself to do research and see what would be best in the community. And you proposed something and you shot both sides. Now, I'll be honest with you, you're not currently being supported by the team that I vote for. I'm making this up, but I just, I think this point here could be better if you took it to the public sector instead of, going to government first. But I just have to commend you for stepping out front and being a leader and showing us what, men and their ingenuity can do. Something like that. Use your own words, but that's so much better than sitting there and just waiting to pounce like, I sure am. Yeah, I can't wait to tell him about himself. So hopefully that's helpful, ladies. Thank you. Cube's name is O'Shea Jackson, Mr. Jackson. Absolutely. Thank you for telling me that. So hopefully some tangible tips that will help you ladies in communication. Oh, goodness. Let's move on to the next caller, the next contestant on Disagreement Day. This one was where I started to go, doom, doom, doom. So this lady calls in for the third time to Kevin Samuels. Why these women continue to call in just to argue this 50-plus-year-old man down, I'll never understand it. So you all know Kevin's eyebrow already goes up when he's like, have I talked to you before? How many times have you called my show? So she starts going on about, this is the third time, and she says, I have a question. He says, what's the question? She starts giving all this flowery language. He said, what's the question? She continues with her flowery language. That's another thing, ladies. Men don't like that. If they ask you a direct question, they expect a direct answer. Answer the question and then ask them Do you need, would you like more, me to explain more? Or do you have it? Thank you so much, Suave D, for the $5. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. So it's almost laughable, but this is literally what she called in to challenge Kevin Samuels about. You all know that Kevin was very polarizing. And one of the things he would tell women, if they were disagreeable, he would just say, buy a dog and die alone. Have it your way. No, nobody is going to fight you. And ladies, you have to realize this. Nobody is going to care. Nobody is going to stop what they're doing to come see about you. So if you want a man to be emotionally invested in you, you got to sort that out yourself. So she says, you know how you say that women who don't have relationships are going to die alone? And he was like, yes. She said, well, if a younger woman married a much older man and he passes before her, then she is going to die alone too. The fact that this is even a conversation, and he said, okay, and your point is the difference between her and you is that she actually was able to get married and have a life and make memories and have a family. So, yes, technically, all of us are going to die alone. But you, as we say in the South, you fixed your mouth to call me and say, well, she's really going to die alone in an age gap relationship. So, y'all already know. So then Kevin starts asking her, are you even in a relationship yourself? Sorry to laugh, but he said, why is it that you women want to make dysfunction normal? You're wasting your own time. So hopefully, ladies, you can learn from her bad example that okay, you won the battle, but you lost the war, because at the end of the day you still go home to nothing, but you really had to argue this man down just to prove to him that everybody dies alone. What would you add, Lucy?
Yeah, I didn't really have anything on her. All I know is that I heard it. I was listening to it while I was working at the same time, and her voice sounded very masculine. That's one thing that really struck me. I'm going, this is really strange. She's calling in to argue something that's really, she doesn't really have a point. And I think I highlighted this part where he says, um, hold on. She said, I'm not going to sit there and argue with your ass about the fact that most women are going to die alone. Don't get married, wasting my time again. So again, he did this laugh thing, and then I think he did the the song, like, I don't know, the death march song, and that's how he ended it. So again, sometimes these women just took him, his patience level just took him out. And I wasn't paying attention to that one because I wanted to move on to the next one. The next one is really interesting.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. But ladies, the takeaway from that, I would encourage all of us, myself included, if you are an argumentative person, if you naturally like to debate, I don't. You can win all day. I do not need to be right. But ladies, be self-aware. People have told you about yourself. If you know that you've gotten that feedback and you tend to like to do that verbal spar, if you get a rise out of debating, just know that it's going to hurt you in relationships. Take that and find an outlet to get that out. But in relationships, men are looking for women who are agreeable, because life is going to bring its own challenges, real challenges, health challenges, financial challenges, family challenges. So men do not want to be with women who've got to argue every point. Like he told her, I'm not going to go tit for tat with you. I think he kicked her off and he was like, get the off of my phone. Y'all know when he is done. He was done with her. So you can be right and still be very wrong, ladies. All right. Let me see. This next one. Is this the one who was talking about the body count? Is this the last one that you wanted to get into?
That's the one, the 37-year-old that
37.
sounded like a child. Her
Oh,
voice was literally like a teenager. And to me,
yeah.
again, I was listening to it while I was working,
Yeah.
and I'm going, this person, there's some arrested development there,
Yeah.
because for a 37-year-old to have her intonation like she's a teenager, I can't even imagine me talking like a child, because it's not normal. Something slowed her emotional growth, and you can tell once she starts talking about her experience.
Or her lack thereof. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so just so you all know, this last caller, let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Rodney says, time is precious, especially in relationships. That's so true. I can't remember which one Kevin said it, but ladies, this one shook me to my core. He said, women, you all have the leverage between 16 to 29. But men have it between 18 to 90. Now, you can get fixated on the numbers, but ladies, you have your 20s. Over 30, he said that that's old for a first marriage. I'm sorry, not sorry. But if you spent a decade doing whatever you wanted to do and then didn't prioritize relationship and now you're over 30, you don't have the leverage that you used to be calling the shots and to be this difficult and this disagreeable. So if someone is giving you an opportunity as a mature woman, I would advise you to hitch your wagon to that. Okay. So this last woman who called in, she called in, apparently it was disagreement day, to disagree with him on another controversial topic. So I'll say what the topic was, but really it was about her. So Kevin would say, by the third date, women need to be physical with the man that they are um, dating. And, his rationale behind it was really, ladies, and I will say this. The purpose of dating is to determine if this is a match for marriage or long term. I think women are out here casually dating because they want experiences. They want to go someplace that they can't go on their own. They want to get dressed up and dolled up to impress their friends or on social media, and they have no interest in the man. That is absolutely wrong. And like he said, you should not accept a date at all from a man that you're not attracted to. And I do agree with that. You should kind of be like, man, golly, getting a little, you all know what that is. So if you don't feel that you could really like be attracted to him, he is husband material, then you should respectfully decline the date. What you do after that is your business. But the point is, she calls in and she says, I think three dates is too low. And I don't think a high value woman should do this. And he goes down his logic, and then he asks her, like he always does, when was your last relationship? What is your relationship status? Okay, I get it. You disagree with the principle. Okay, fine. When's the last time you went out? And she said, and I quote, I've been single my whole life. Y'all, again, that's why I get so tired at the end of this episode. I'm like, you got the energy to call this man on the internet and argue him down. And I think she's been in two relationships, which it's not bad. I've been in two relationships, two long ones. But he said, we are grown people. Don't accept a date from a man you're not attracted to. And he said, you need to be more concerned about why you don't have anybody. At 37 years old, you don't have a man. I think it had been years since she had had a boyfriend. He said, you live alone. Why is it that you have no male suitor? And ladies, I think that's a serious question that a lot of you who have a lot to say about other people's relationships, dare I say, if my house was not in order, you would not find me on the internet here. Like, I would be using this time to create something real for myself. I think the reason why Lucy and I are successful in these spaces is because we have the long-term experience. We did the work years ago to secure the relationships that we want. So now we can speak from our own lived experience. But he really got on her and he said, the reason you're talking about other people's relationships is because you don't have one, because you know you're not cut out for one. and he read her, and that one got me. That one hurt a little bit. What would you say, Lucy?
Yes, I believe she hadn't had a relationship since 2008. So, a 37-year-old woman talking about her being a high value woman, or, as a high value woman, when do you get to be intimate with a person? And I do agree with with Kevin Samuels. That first date, it's that man has to bring something in you that you could think of him being the father of your child, or doing the thing to make that baby that's going to make him the father of your child. you, I can't imagine going on a first date with somebody that I have absolutely zero physical attraction with. And it seems like there are women that are willing to go to that dinner with somebody that they have zero attraction with, just to have the experience or just to get the dinner or whatever. That dating back then is not the same dating that happens now. Dating is the first time you go, it's just to get to know each other physically. Because when I met my husband, we would talk and we would see each other and we would gauge each other. It's not that flirting, and then the first date is just to make sure that all those choosing signals, you and him were right and you connected. The second date, you start learning more about each other. And the third date, you decide whether this is something that's going to be longer term, or you know what, you just say, it wasn't meant for me. But all these situationships, all these relationships, long term, without knowing how you feel about each other, it's very strange to me. So again, modern dating for me, it's really strange. I can't relate to it, because unfortunately, these young women have been sold a really bad marketing. They've been marketed something that is not working out for them at the end.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Suave D says their purpose was to come on and prove Kevin wrong. And that's true and that's sad. I feel like a lot of the women called in almost like a sport. Like, yeah, you couldn't, hit the bullseye and the target. Watch me do it. And ladies, again, if you want something real, spending your energy to try and pin somebody down on a point, people look at you like, wow, it was really that serious? Like, you really, like, with all the other glaring things that you got going on or don't have going on, you really took your time to do that? Iron Laura says it's very confusing. Hello, Gogo. Rodney says dating should be defined better as a courtship to the serious minded individual. Absolutely. And I love what Lucy said. It's true. I still get butterflies for my man. But ladies, when we were dating, you would get excited. When that boy that you were interested in or that man that you were interested in asked you out, it could have been my first date. I think it was a Chick-fil-A, but I was so excited. You want to make sure that you look good, not so that you can post up somewhere, but you really want to confirm, like Kevin said in this episode, there should be that initial attraction, and then the date is to see if there's a real chemistry there, or when I'm one-on-one with them, it's not really that, and then you respectfully and you exit with grace. But when you rack up so many experiences, ladies, the dating, what I'm seeing when I talk to women, especially women that have a lot of dating experience, they are really behind the eight ball when it comes to relationship experience. So now when you're either tired or fatigued of having all these free dates and racking up all these trips and trinkets or whatever you're doing, and now you want something serious, you don't know how to handle yourself in a regular Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, mundane, boring relationship. And so you have this urge to jump back in there, or something must be wrong because we're not, painting the town red every night. So I would caution you ladies to be very selective with who you date, because men are going to ask you. And if you have a long list I've seen TikToks of girls who went out on a different date every week for a year, and they make these long TikToks about, today it's Charles, next week it's so-and-so, and it's almost like they're keeping score. But what happens is when a man is serious and he starts asking you and you have all this dating history, he's thinking, none of these men were worth moving forward on. Oh, so I'm just going to be number 53? Yeah, we're not doing that. So you think you're winning, ladies, but again, you're very short sighted because you're putting all this energy into dating. It would be better to wait and only accept a date from a man who you really see a possible future with. And the dating process is to either prove or disprove that, but hopefully you learn something from it that you can apply moving forward. Because what he told her, he was like, if you're so worried, I love this one, if you're so worried about low body count, because she kept going on about body count, and he was like, why are you worried about what some imaginary person may or may not do when you have nobody vetting you right now? He said, if you want to keep your body count low, get married. And that is so true, ladies. Like, if you're so concerned about that, get married young, find your relationship young, and get out of the modern dating world, because it is a mess, unfortunately. But ladies, we've created this. So it's foolish of us to be in it and then complain, oh, I don't like these rules. Find your man and get out of the dating game. Um, yes, Chick-fil-A, Cheesecake Factory, all perfectly fine. Thank you, the Good Company podcast for the 199 says keeping score. That's the ick we avoid. It's just sad. Yeah, I felt like this whole episode, and there was a theme, it was called Summer Fireworks, but the red thread in this episode was women who could have had their own relationships, but they were so busybodied, waiting for that chance to pounce, waiting for the opportunity to prove Kevin Samuels wrong on a technicality, not dating, not investing in themselves, not getting better, not having real world experiences to listen and learn from. And I would love to know where they are now, but I'm really sad that this was their whole goal. And like you said, you can't keep a man. So it was tough. What do you want to say, Lucy?
And the saddest part is that he kept asking her because he knew from what she was saying and some of how she was responding, there was something odd. To ultimately know that she had just recently moved out of her mother's house. So again, she had been 37 years old. And I mean, there's nothing wrong living with your parents. I mean, when I came back to here, California from Florida, my dad and I, we bought a house together and we lived together. And my husband loved to see me every time he come in and get me. My parents would come out and say hello to my husband. And he loved that part because he knew that there was a family. I was not in the streets running crazy. There's nothing wrong. But for her to go out there and to start thinking about, her body count when she cannot keep, she hasn't been able to keep a steady relationship during her, her adult years. It's really interesting. So he asked her if she had gone to therapy, and she had never gone to therapy. And he highly recommended for her to find somebody that she could talk to, because again, he knew that there was this mental arrested mental development, that at 37, she should have been a more mature thinking. And again, for me, when I heard that voice, to me, she sounded like a 15-year-old in a 37-year-old body.
Yeah, and that is so sad, because your best years for securing what you want, you know, it's not over for her, but she was a lot further behind than what she needed to be. Rodney says dating with intention takes maturity. Absolutely. I was on a podcast yesterday, and I was thinking, even talking to Lucy, like asking women, do you want to be a wife? Why do you want to be a wife? What kind of wife do you want to be? Ladies, you have to have thought these things out. And I think if you take the time to think about them in your own life instead of what everybody else is doing, you'll be like, you know what? The clock is ticking. I need to get on the program. I need to turn off social media. I need to be out here, make eye contact, smile, strike up a conversation, be naturally curious, find out what men are looking for, get some feedback and adjust, and then date with intention. And I say only the type of men that you find yourself attracted to and could happily submit to. But if you're out here just ready to argue, somebody's got to prove themselves to you before you're even going to give them the time of day, you're going to find yourself alone. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a lot of women, and I hate to say it, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Suave D says they want to be partners. Well, ladies, that could be what you want, but that's not what masculine men want. They want the feminine asset to their masculine brand. And Rodney says if you put men on your rotation early in life, women may be put on a men's rotation later or in the latter. That's hard, but I understand, and I see this, unfortunately. We don't get away with anything, ladies. And when you decide to get serious, whatever age that is, you're going to have to answer for what you did and how you spent that time. And it's going to be a very difficult sell to a man who's serious if you've spent 30 years, 20 years, 40 years doing whatever you want to do. And now, aha, I'm really serious. Is it impossible? No, but you're going to have to really prove yourself. So I would just encourage you to take an assessment, look within, learn from those who have what you want, listen to the feedback that you've gotten or the results that you've gotten in your own life. You know, there was one lady who called in and said something weird about men stopped talking to her after 3 months or something like that. And he was like, well, you're the common denominator. And yes, it's hurtful, but that's the only way that you're going to get better. Marie says, let me say, Ken, I am a modern woman, but I'm a reformed modern woman like Maggie. Absolutely. And that's what we do here. We tell you all what we've done right and what we've done wrong, and hopefully an inspiration that you can get better. But like Kevin told this woman, you need some help. And I love that even though he was hard on her, he showed his softer side and he said, I want you to make an appointment. This is not normal. And ladies, we've got to stop fighting for the dysfunction. He talked about that in this episode. We've got to stop having to, get that one little point, but everything else is falling to pieces. Really take a look within. If what you're doing is working for you and you are happy, God bless it. But if you are quietly miserable, and you know that, and you don't have to tell anybody else but yourself, but if you're quietly miserable, if you're single and you don't want to be, you're going to have to get up, get out, do something, have real experiences. Rodney says, Proverbs 18:22 says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, not just a woman. This woman is acting like a wife. Yeah. So ladies, if you want to be considered a wife, that's how he needs to see you when he finds you. So that's what I had for this episode. Lucy, what would you say to close us out?
I think we're good. I think that, as Maggie said, there is time for some of these a little bit more mature ladies, but you do have to do the work, and you have to show consistency, and you have to, the man is going to probably vet you harder than if you were 22 to 27-year-old. Once you're 30, the vetting process is going to be harder, but you can do it. You just have to put in the work.
So speaking of work, we do have a question from Gillis. She says, I really still feel like you also have to have some luck to find that right guy. You guys, right? 50% luck and 50% work. What do you think, Maggie and Lucy? Yes, but. So I'll give you my answer and then I'd love to know what Lucy says. Of course, there is some luck in meeting that guy at work, at school, at the coffee shop, having that encounter. Oh, I'm lost. Can you help me find directions? Or any of the ways that you meet somebody, or someone says, oh, I know somebody that'd be a great, network, part of your network. So yes, there is some luck to it, but I'm big on accountability and I'm big on taking action while you have the leverage. I think that when we are younger, or when we have our best years, that's when we need to be, like Kevin used to say, moving with our hair on fire, because the chances, maybe it is a numbers game, but the chances of you having these lucky moments increases. But then also I put the accountability on us to be prepared. I could meet the man of my dream. Well, I have the man of my dreams, but let's say I met the man of my dreams tomorrow. I don't know how to talk to a man. I don't know how to respect a man. I don't know how to serve a man. I don't know how to be useful to a man. I don't know. I don't even know what men want. It doesn't matter how lucky I was in that moment to have that chance meeting. I'll never be able to secure the relationship that I want if I'm not prepared. So you say 50-50 luck. I would say 20-80-20. I'm going to say 80% work and preparation and 20% luck. Because if you are prepared and you go out there every day and you make yourself friendly and you socialize, and people are going to be drawn to that. And before you know it, especially if you're still in your prime, you're going to have more options than you think. What would you say, Lucy?
Okay, so my dog is barking, so don't mind her. I think she needs to go outside. I think there is some luck in it, but I think it's also the numbers game. The more you go out there, you get yourself into school, you get yourself. I remember when I first met my husband, I was going to school, I was rock climbing, I was roller skating, I was learning how to play tennis, all of these other things where I could see maybe potential mates. Lucky for me, I met him at, it was across the way from my job. But yeah, the more you expose yourself out there, the more there's a chance that you are going to catch that person that's like, hmm, he looks interesting. I like that V shape. I'm wondering if he's a nice guy. So again, it's a numbers game, but you do have to be ready to take it to the next step, to be able to hold a conversation, to be agreeable, to be feminine, to wear just a nice outfit that will say to the man, she wants to, we need to go out a little more to get to know you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Kelly says, I'm asking for a friend. She's out to pasture. But great way to end. Suave says, what are you willing to do to set yourself apart from other women? Ladies, I'm going to ask you to think about that before the next time we come back. What sets you apart? What are you willing to do? Rodney says luck is defined when preparations meet opportunity. Yeah, I saw that V shape. Yeah, don't even get me started. Oh yes, absolutely. Suave says being feminine and taking the time to understand men gives you an advantage, because many modern women are not. Yes, ladies, so many modern women are out here masculine and they don't even know. Go back and listen to one of the ladies that called in, and he said, you sound like a hard woman. You sound like you were raised by a bunch of hard women. And if you're not self-aware that this is how you show up, it's going to hurt you in your mate selection. Let me see if there's anything else. I want to get you all's comments, and I'm going to let you go. Lucy had to tend to her dogs. The dog days of summer. Yeah, y'all know Lucy's dogs are part of the show now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I thought I saw something about women. Women get so offended when you ask straightforward questions regarding the intention. Okay. I thought I saw something about the youth. Yes, women don't understand the importance of the leverage of their younger years. So young ladies, you have your 20s. After that, you have given the leverage away. So hopefully you secure it. Is it over for you? No, but it will be harder for you. Okay, so next week I am traveling, but I'm traveling with my laptop, so we will keep going. I know I'm always doing stuff, but you all have another episode with us tomorrow. 3 p.m. Since I missed last night, we will do, I think it's either part 3 of the Submissive Wife series. You all seem to be really liking that. Dog Days of Summer. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for all of the support. Messy Michonne for the $10 super sticker. Suave D for the $5 super chat. Great job, ladies. Thank you so much. And Good Company Podcast. Yes, we don't want to keep score, ladies. You want to have your own experiences because, like Kevin Samuel said, you only need one. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, for more relationship talk. Until then, adios.